Meanwhile, on the comic box,
It's all about Image.
Great Krypton's Ghost!
And our first look at Cloak and Dagger. Kick it, Liam.
Bum, 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 bum. Wow, wow, wow. Bum, 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 wow.
Comics. I didn't even join in on that one. I just wanted to listen to you go at it. It was awesome.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, everyone, and welcome to issue 45 of The Comic Box, part of the Geek to Geek podcast network. I am Rob, your friendly neighborhood comic geek, and I am joined by the lathery Liam O'Rourke.
I do enjoy a good lather.
It is exactly what it sounds like. I'm running out of adjectives that have to do with people.
I do enjoy a good lather.
You're lathery. This week, we are talking about the history of Image Comics, sort of to tie into our topic last week of what happens when you have a big company like Marvel or DC telling you how to write your comics. We thought we would, take a break from all of that and talk about creator-owned stuff. And we also got a big batch of new trailers. And by a big batch, I mean 2. We got a trailer for the sci-fi Superman prequel, Krypton, and our first sort of teaser trailer for the Cloak and Dagger show that's coming. So that is what we're talking about this week. But first, the Weekly Geekery. Liam, how have you been keeping it geek this week?
Well, I have begun a large project.
Okay.
This week and last week, I was able to actually find some new shelving. And so now I have to reorganize my whole pop collection and get that all situated into the additional shelves that I have now.
So your apartment is literally just going to be walls of Pop Vinyls figures. Do you have a count? Like, do you know at any given time how many you actually have?
I have about 200 right now.
Okay. Because I feel like that was the loose count when I was there. And I suppose when I saw the pile and you were saying trading, my thought was you got them cheap, you're going to sell them for more. But that's still an accurate number of how many you want. You just want to trade those out for ones you want more than those ones.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
And I have done some of that trading. I have a Negan, a bloody Negan that I just sent out. And in return, I will be getting a Chase variety of the Mr. Meeseeks, and it'll be the one where he's got the gun in hand after having gotten very frustrated with Jerry for Jerry not being able to take strokes off his golf game.
I have no idea what you're referring to.
But one of our audience members might.
Also, and I suppose one of these weeks we will have to talk about collecting and figures and stuff, because that's a huge part of comic book culture, nerd culture, geek culture in general, but also very much comic books. When you say a chase, that means that has been produced in smaller quantities and is thus tougher to get your hands on and oftentimes more expensive.
Precisely.
Okay.
And I also did just experience the thrill of finding a Chase figure in the store.
What'd you find?
Do you remember when you were looking at the collection, there were ones that were like Hanna-Barbera characters?
Sure.
Do you remember Touche Tortoise or Touche Turtle?
No.
Okay, well, it's a turtle who has
Okay.
a big Spanish, conquistador-y kind of hat on and then like a rapier. And I found the Chase variety where he has like a black X on his chest. Like a Templar kind of knight symbol. So
Cool.
It's not amazing, but it's going to be worth something for trading or something. So
Okay, and if it makes you feel good, then right on.
It's not easy to find, so just being like, hey, I found one. Hey, cool. That's a fun little moment,
Sure. So what about reading, watching, playing?
I watched some of that unfortunate Wanted movie, as we can get to.
Curve those bullets.
Right around everything, especially Angelina Jolie. And I've played some video games here and there, mostly Crusader Kings, but yeah, it's been kind of a busy week for me.
Okay, did you get to any comics?
I cracked the binding on my Wanted a little bit, but I didn't do a whole lot of reading, no.
Okay.
Mainly bathroom reading.
Gotcha. Well, for my weekly geekery, I read what I said I would read for this week. I read the second volume of Descender by Jeff Lemire.
I do what I say I'm going to do just so I make Liam look bad.
No, I don't I don't need to do anything to make you look bad, Liam. Nobody knows what you look like anyway. You're hiding behind that Alan Moore beard. For all we know, we shave it off and you look like the prince at the end of Beauty and the Beast.
I look like a turtle without his shell.
Also, yes. I have, because I've seen what you look like. Not in person. I have known you for, 10 years now?
Just about 10 years, yeah.
And I have never seen you without a beard. I have seen you with a short-cropped, like, normal beard and short hair, and then now where you look like you've been living in the wilderness and are afraid of sharp objects coming near your hair.
If you read Walden real close, it's about T's and B's.
I don't.
That's an adult reference to a comedian comedy bit, so you can just leave it at that and leave it unedited.
Fantastic. So I read Volume 2 of Descender. I haven't read my comics this week. I got caught up on some of my comics last week. I loved the most recent issue of Silver Surfer by Dan Slott and art by Michael Allred. It is just the most feel-good, warm comic that you're going to find out there. Like, there's a lot of fun books and nice books like Lumberjanes and that sort of thing, which are light and fun, but Silver Surfer somehow manages to have some weight to it every once in a while, and their stories are always these done in one, so you can just pick up an issue. Every issue has such a cool idea behind it, and the art is like very pop art.
Ooh.
So it comes together really well.
Okay.
Also, I did binge a thing that wasn't comic related. I watched the most recent season of Archer on Netflix.
Oh, okay. Is that the 1930s one?
No, it's not.
Okay. That's the one that's airing currently. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I'm watching that one myself with my buddy Bobby. So you're talking one of the previous ones.
Yes, this is what I'm assuming it's the season before the current season, but...
Okay. Is that where Pam's eating cocaine the whole time?
No, it's after that one. So it's not Archer Vice. It's the one where they have a detective agency, the Figgis Agency.
Okay.
So I watched that, and that was nice because they're short episodes and I don't really have to pay attention, so I put it on while I'm walking on the treadmill. Same thing with Young Justice. I'm plugging along with Young Justice. I'm still in the middle of Season 2, episode, 13 or something like that. Things are finally starting to come together. And then as far as video games go, Future Fight, the game that BJ from the Geek to Geek podcast was raving about, I have it on my tablet. I still don't think I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing on there because there's too much to the game, but I can hit a button where it will auto-run a level I've already played, and then you see the character go through it and do a better job of it than you, beating people up. And so I can, while I'm working, I can have my tablet next to me, and it's just something else that's half taking my attention, which actually helps me work a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's it for my weekly geekery. I haven't, I got a new book, a Billy Joel biography, but I haven't touched it. That was a gift.
Is it called Play It Again?
Billy? No, it's not.
Play It Again, the Piano Man,
That's not part of the song, though. Let's talk comic book news, shall we? News. First piece of news I want to throw out there is Free Comic Book Day is almost here, y'all. May 6th, Saturday, May 6th. You can go to freecomicbookday.com, and I believe they have a listing of all the participating comic book stores. If you're not a regular comic book reader, this is the day to go to your local comic book store. And because
you get to go in and take anything you want, because on that day, all laws don't apply to comic book stores.
I kind of want to say yes for humor's sake, but I don't want to get in trouble for saying yes. There is a selection.
Comic books only. Toys you still have to pay for.
Oh, yeah.
Games, cards, all that. But any comic book that they don't have nailed down, you are allowed to take.
That Batman #1 on the wall that they have framed, free.
Yep.
It's comic books, Free Comic Book Day. No, but you can go to freecomicbookday.com. They have a list of some of the comics that are going to be out there. A lot of times, some of the smaller publishers will put out samplers, so you get several small stories in one book, or maybe just the first couple pages in issue #1, and so you can just take one book and it samples, but get there early. A lot of places will do other things where they'll have discounts on other comics and trades. Toys. Some places do costume contests. People will show up in costume. So if you have kids, you can take them. They can get their pictures taken with your local cosplayers. It's awesome. I don't really have I mean, it's free comic book day. I don't know what you want.
Yeah.
Go and get free comics. Try out something new. And while you're there, throw a couple, bucks their way and maybe pick up something else. Like what we're going to be talking about today, an Image comic. Because even without a discount, the first volume of any Image book is $10, which is about $5 cheaper than your average trade. Listen to what we tell you this week, and you will have ideas of things to go and pick up on May 6th. Moving over to Marvel Comics news. Marvel. They are kicking off their Secret Empire event this week. It's another event. Hey, surprise, Marvel's doing another big event book.
Say what?
Yeah, I know, right? This one surrounds the whole Captain America being a Hydra agent thing. It actually is kind of a neat cover to Secret Empire #0 because it shows him in his new costume that I'm not a huge fan of. But it's like it's ripped and underneath he's wearing a Hydra uniform because when you're undercover, you have to wear your real clothes underneath your undercover clothes because...
Well, that's what it means to be undercover.
Exactly. And when you're a superhero who's also an undercover evil villain, you need to wear your villain costume under your hero costume, under your regular clothes. It's a lot of layers.
Well, it's sensible because you don't know what the weather's going to be like.
And that's why so many of them are in New York because in the wintertime, it can get pretty chilly.
I mean, he was the super soldier and frozen in ice for like 50 years. You'd understand why he doesn't like being chilly.
That's true. That's absolutely true. So the event is called Secret Empire, which was the name of another crossover in like the 90s that had Spider-Man and Moon Knight, and I feel like Night Thrasher, maybe? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, Night Thrasher, the guy who wears an orange paintball helmet.
Yes. Basically, yes. I was trying to think, like, what are you talking about? But, yeah. But I don't know. Marvel keeps recycling their titles of stuff. But while we're talking about Night Thrasher, I'm going to get a Marvel TV news. We've mentioned New Warriors in the past, which is this half-hour comedy series that's coming up on the internets. Was it Hulu? Now I can't remember who's doing New Warriors. In any case, they revealed the lineup of the characters that are going to be on the show. We already knew it was going to be Squirrel Girl, but they are including a couple traditional New Warriors characters like Night Thrasher and Speedball, and then Mr. Immortal, who's from the Great Lakes Avengers run, as well as two characters I have never heard of before, Microbe and Debris, but Debris is spelled weird because comic book characters, so it's Debrii. I am not familiar with either of those characters, but we do have a bit of a synopsis, and I can just read down a quick synopsis of these characters. There's Zach Smith, Microbe, who it just says can talk to germs.
Well, yeah. Who doesn't want to be able to talk to germs?
Zach is a shy hypochondriac whose ability nearly makes him a telepath. The germs tell him where you've been, what you ate, and who you hung out with. It's impossible to keep secrets around him. He's a big, sweet guy the team takes under their wing, and they help him find and grow his own confidence. And Deborah Fields, Debris, has low-level telekinetic powers, and it says trickster? What does that mean? Confidently out as a lesbian, Deborah has experienced deep loss in her personal life as a result of her heroics. Take care of herself, or at least says she can. The one who calls people on their BS and has no fear of putting her opinions out there. I believe this is the African-American female, so they're gonna make her the sassy black woman on the show. Is she played by Wanda Sykes? Because that's a bit stereotypical, but
they should get Retta from Parks and Rec.
See, I would be okay with that. I really like her.
She's great.
I think she does a good job. Anyway, So that's who's going to be in New Warriors. Let's be honest. I will watch it. I will probably watch the first 2 episodes, but I don't see this being like a mini series. I see this being an attempt at an ongoing, and so I don't see myself watching this on the regular. I don't see myself having the time or the patience. I feel like it's going to be another Powerless, which I haven't seen past the first episode.
Nope.
There's too much out there. I still want to get to Fear the Walking Dead, the newest season that's on Hulu, and they have all of Preacher on Hulu now, and I've really been wanting to watch that. I need to carve out time because I know I want to binge it. So, sorry, New Warriors.
Yeah, they just put it up some new MST3K episodes. Sorry.
Yeah.
I've got new MST3K to watch.
And Netflix uploaded a video of them riffing on Stranger Things. Go check that out on YouTube. It's like
I will. I bet it's gold.
Yeah, it's just a couple minutes. The other Marvel TV thing we have is we got a actual trailer. I don't know if we call it a trailer or a teaser trailer for Cloak and Dagger, which is coming out on the Freeform network, which was previously ABC Family.
Oh, okay.
Link to that trailer in the show notes. Now, you did get to the trailer?
I did.
Okay, so quick breakdown of it before we talk about what we think is it's a high school students. There's a white girl who is clearly like ballet and whatever, and her family looks like they get in some sort of financial trouble or like trouble with the police or something. And she doesn't know.
She really wants to go to the big elite dance studio, but doesn't feel like she has enough of a... Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Save the Last Dance again.
Yeah, no, this totally had a crazy, beautiful / Save the Last Dance feel to it. And it looks like she ends up running away, being a runaway. And then you have the male character who's... So our black male character looks like he goes to a prep school of some sort, plays basketball, and then he's also getting in trouble, but personally, instead of the world around him affecting him, it seems like he's getting in fights. He's stuck in a trunk and some guy's pointing a gun at him. His mom is really worried about him. Yeah, and then at some point they realize they might both have powers. Now, the first time I watched this, I didn't see it because it was on my phone. You see that she has the light power, but there's like a darkness power swirling around his hand. And it's really hard to see when they're in the graveyard.
Oh,
but
okay. Yeah, I missed that totally.
See? I on the second viewing on my laptop, I put it full screen and I was able to see that. It very much has this OC, CW kind of feel. I mean, again, ABC Family, or excuse me, Freeform Network. Also, definitely looks like it's an ongoing, so what did you think?
Well, first of all, it's on the Freeform network, so no, I won't be watching it because I don't even know how you watch that network. But, you know, if I could just like sit down and watch it on Netflix, I would give it a try.
I kind of have the same feeling, very much the same as New Warriors, where I might watch a couple episodes, but I worry about it turning into what Arrow kind of is now, where every episode is just drama.
Yeah, I don't need a teen drama. I don't need that.
Now, give me something that has teen drama in it, but give me a Buffy that has enough teen drama in it, but other plot and intrigue to keep me going, or where your episodes...
You need a Giles. You need to have a Giles.
Yeah.
They can't all be irritating teenage characters.
Or at the very least... And last week's episode of the Geek to Geek podcast was just about everything Joss Whedon. And they were also talking about this, the idea that in Buffy, a lot of the episodes were analogous to other issues. So the idea is they serve as metaphors kind of thing, where it's nobody pays attention to that kid in school. What if that kid in school then actually becomes invisible? That's not really what they're talking about.
You mean Mystery Men?
No, not Invisible Boy and Mystery Men. We can do a Mystery Men episode. They were actual comic book characters, and they died in their very first appearance in the Flaming Carrot comic book.
Yep.
And then they decided to make a movie out of it where they're actual heroes. They were supposed to be...
Did you know?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, they were supposed to be kind of like Great Lakes Avengers, where they show up once as a joke, and then they're killed off. And that's what the Mystery Men were.
But they were too cheap to make a movie about a flaming carrot back then and make it look good, so they decided to make the Mystery Men.
That sounds familiar. Yeah, maybe we'll have to do an episode on that.
One more thing about the Mystery Men before we go.
Yeah, go.
It might actually be a secret Tim Burton movie.
What do you mean? Like he might have directed it?
Yes. And then took his name off of it, and then taken the director of photography and slapped his name as the director on instead.
Interesting. I can see some of it in some of the design.
Tom Waits was talking in a biography about a movie he was working on in that particular year for Tim Burton, who then took his name off of it for not being satisfied by it. So he didn't specifically say Mystery Men, but there aren't a lot of movies that Tom Waits has worked on.
Yeah.
And if you watch The Mystery Men, it has a real feel for it, for being a Tim Burton kind of movie.
It has a very kind of Mars Attacks kind of feel.
Yes.
More so than some of his creepier movies. But yeah, I guess. It's got Jeffrey Rush in it, so you have my money anyway.
Mm-hmm. See, I liked the movie. The movie podcast that I listened to did not like it, but, that's just a difference of opinion.
I have the soundtrack to that movie.
Well, you have soundtracks to everything, so I guess
do,
I shouldn't be
but I
totally
bought that
surprised.
Soundtrack. All Star by Smash Mouth, fantastic. And the Mystery Men song that has Invisible Boy rapping in it, Yeah.
Wow.
It's not good.
Wow.
It's really not good. It's not a
You
great.
should put that track on during the credits of our episode. That would be so great.
Copyright infringement. Not that anybody cares. No, I'd have to dig it out and do too much work. Point being, we were talking Cloak and Dagger. I'll watch a couple episodes. I don't see myself being a regular viewer of this show. I think it's going to be a little too pointed towards teenagers. However, I love that. Yes, give us a superhero show that's pointed towards teenagers. Give us the Arrow of the Marvel shows. Like, I see absolutely no reason not to. And if you're going to pick characters, yes, pick the teenage runaway characters like Cloak and Dagger. I'm down with that. I think that idea is fantastic. They're obscure characters like Daredevil and Doctor Strange and I guess Iron Fist. We won't talk about Iron Fist. But like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, these characters that aren't super well known, and you're taking them and making Iron Man. People might have known who Iron Man was, kind of, but nobody was an Iron Man fan that didn't read the comics.
Oh, yeah.
So I love the idea. Yeah, give me a Cloak and Dagger TV show, and you want to aim it at teenagers? Okay. Thank you for doing it. New Warriors, I feel like if they were going to make that Great Lakes Avengers-ish with like Mr. Mortal and stuff, make it the Great Lakes Avengers. Because A, you would have gotten more viewers, and B, I think you could have done something interesting with it. If you
want to see an amazing example of a non-character becoming a big character, look at Ant-Man. If you would have said 20 years ago that there would be an Ant-Man movie one day, I don't think anyone would have taken you seriously.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Go
Marvel.
And it ended up being a fun movie. I like it quite a bit. But he's not like, a Thor. He's not an Iron Man. He's not a Wolverine. He's not a standalone big character,
Right. I know he had his own comic for a little while, but in general, he was just an Avengers mainstay that I recall.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He was just always there, part of the team.
Switch it over to DC for us, Liam.
DC.
Nice. First thing, quickly, it sounds like Joss Whedon is on Batgirl now officially. Last week, we just talked about him being in talks. Now he's actually doing interviews, kind of talking about how he might not be looking for a name actress to play Batgirl, which, thank you. We're not going to have an actress that's been in 3 other comic book movies playing your lead. We're looking at you, Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
In DC TV news, another trailer that we have was for the sci-fi show Krypton, which, as I said in the intro, was a Superman prequel, because now you and I watched 2 different versions. I sent a version. I found it when it first dropped online. It has since been pulled as everywhere that I looked. You might be able to find the version Liam watched, which was like 1.5 minutes. I feel like the one I saw was like 3 minutes long and actually told more of what was going on. So why don't you tell me about the one you saw first?
Mostly what I see is it's like it starts in space. There's a bunch of debris. The debris is moving, and you kind of eventually realize that the debris is moving back together as opposed to away from each other. And it's talking about how it's this is not the story of our destruction. This is how we lived, or something like that. And it shows the planet reform. And then a couple of very brief glimpses of getting to see some stuff, I think mainly out of like Man of Steel, that was showing what Krypton looked like in Man of Steel anyway. I don't know if it's new footage or recycled or what, but what I saw looked a lot like what some of Man of Steel had shown us. And then a couple of new flashes of people and things that you couldn't really identify, and then boom, Krypton.
So I feel like the version I saw was like twice as long, and they talked all about the House of El. You're a member of the House of El, yada, yada, yada. I feel like the main character is Kal-El's grandfather, so Jor-El's father. It
sounded like the guy who does the voice for Optimus Prime.
Yeah, it kind of did, didn't it?
It did to me.
Yeah, but there were shots of the city, and it looked very... I liken it to Dune, the sci-fi miniseries back in like the 90s, in that it's very well designed.
Mm-hmm.
So it looked like they were pumping a lot of money into it, which I would hope means it's like a miniseries or something akin to maybe Battlestar Galactica, but shorter, where it has a decent production value, but there's an end game in sight. Because I don't want a show about Krypton that just sort of drags on, because then you get a Smallville effect where, like, it's Clark Kent as a kid, and he's going to learn how to be Superman. Awesome. But then the show, like, just kept going.
Yeah, what else can we do?
For 10 years, and you're like, I feel like he could have been Superman by now.
If he was a teenager, then yeah, after 10 seasons, he would be like a well-established middle-aged adult.
Yeah. So I hope that's not the case. Again, another thing, I'll give it a shot, but I really hope that it's a mini. Like, I don't know why DC feels they're hurting for content and it needs to be Batman or Superman. Marvel's doing a Cloak and Dagger TV show. They just did Iron Fist.
Yeah, give us a Booster Gold and like Blue Beetle.
Yes, absolutely. Give me a blue and gold TV show. Basically, it comes down to, and this was also sort of talked about, I just finished listening to the Geek to Geek podcast from last week, is where Void is talking about he just doesn't like network television anymore because you have to do 23 episodes. You don't get a choice. That's a full season order. You have to make 23 episodes, have fun, and you get this amount of money you need to spread across your whole season. Good luck making something with special effects.
Yeah, I kind of agree to that. Basically, it's just the fact that there is such a rigid formula that they put into so much of their content, I'm just not as interested by it. I'd rather watch something on Netflix that is 13 episodes, but give it 45 minutes or an hour and make it really interesting. And especially without having the commercial breaks, I don't know. It feels like if network TV still wants to be relevant and stay competitive, it has to be quality.
Yeah. Right now it's procedurals and reality TV.
Yeah. And I think there's plenty of good television out there, but I don't think it's on network television.
Yeah, I agree. And there's so much out there. Like for me, I can be, I just want to watch a TV show about a comic book then. But now I have 15 different comic book TV shows, and it's tough for me to go through and take the time to sample because my time is too valuable to me.
And there's still no Green Lantern. It's not like your favorite character is there, so you have to go and watch that show. It's like, well, there's this character, and yeah, that could be interesting. And, there's that character, and yeah, I kind of like them.
Yeah, but there's stuff out there that I do want to see. It's just a question of time. And now there's going to be yet another one. If I can move over to indie comics quickly with the Shibidoo indie comics. I didn't put a whole lot into that one. Lock and Key, one of my favorite comic book series of all time, is getting another pilot. I say another because there was one shot a long time ago for Fox that didn't get picked up. This time they're doing a pilot for Hulu, and it is being directed by Scott Derrickson, the guy who directed the Doctor Strange movie for Marvel. So we know it's somebody who can handle all sorts of crazy, wonky visuals, which you're going to need for a show like Lock and Key. The good news here is since it's Hulu, even if it doesn't get picked up for a show order, there's a good chance that Hulu will still put the pilot out there for people to watch. I hope.
So here's hoping that Scott Derrickson is in fact the Keymaster.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters reference.
And Rick Moranis is... No, I was going to say it. You just weren't... Anyway, that is it for news. The poll list next week. Obviously, we are going to be talking Guardians of the Galaxy because the following week, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 comes out. My thought is since we weren't around for the last Guardians movie, I'm thinking we do just sort of quick synopses of who some of these characters are in the comic book world, and then I want to make sure that then we dig into like Ego the Living Planet and some of the other things that we might be seeing in here. We'll do a little bit of speculation. We'll talk about what we liked about the first movie and just sort of give you a general prep for the sequel. So my thought is there is many volumes of Guardians of the Galaxy out right now. The one that the first movie was based on was the Andy Lanning and Dan Abnett, the 2008 run of Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's Volume 1 of the 2008 run of Guardians of the Galaxy. I have a link in the show notes for ComiXology. I think it's like $10 or $11 to pick it up digitally. Otherwise, you can pick up the entire 25-issue run of that comic for like $24 or something like that. So it's a pretty good deal. It's $1 an issue. It's definitely worth your time. I really loved this run. I read it before the movie came out, so I was all up and ready to go for the first movie. And so we might just throw that out there as something to read. Is Volume 1 of the 2008 run of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's not necessarily going to have anything to do with the second movie, but it's a good way for you to get your feet wet into the comic book version of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Let's get wet.
And now, this.
I'm Void.
And I'm Beej.
And together, we're the Geek to Geek podcast. Well, we make it. It is kind of us, but I guess it's separate.
Every week, we pick a topic from geek or digital culture and chat about it for a while.
And you're invited. We talk about books and movies, games, comics, the internet.
Or really whatever we feel like.
Yeah, that too.
So look for the Geek to Geek podcast on iTunes.
Or wherever your podcasts are sold. Or downloaded. Or whatever.
And we are back. Hey, Liam.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, did you know we're part of the Geek to Geek podcast network? I gotta find a better way. I say that every single week.
You don't say?
You don't say. Again, I do say. We have a lot of great shows on this network, and we would appreciate you guys going out and supporting all of them. There's the Geek to Geek podcast. There's this show, The Comic Box. There's Geek Fitness Health Hacks. There's Geektitude. All of these shows can be found at geektogeekcast.net. We're on Facebook as well now, so you can find our Facebook page. If you search Geek to Geek Podcast, there's a Geek to Geek Podcast Network Facebook page where we post updates and cool stuff you're probably not going to find anywhere else, because it's just when we feel like it, we go and we post news and trailers. And I posted the most recent Star Wars trailer before anybody else did, and I'm not even the Star Wars fan.
See, I was planning
on
talking about the Star Wars trailer today when we were talking trailers, and instead of giving my opinions about the actual trailers, give my opinions about the Star Wars trailer. But, I decided to keep us on track a little bit. So,
but I tell you where you can find out about that is at our subreddit, reddit.com/r/geek-to-geekcast. We got all sorts of threads up there, or on Facebook. I don't know if you've even liked the page, Liam. I think I have to send it to you so you can... No, didn't I, allow you to post?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I have it liked, at least.
Yeah, so you go and share your thoughts there, too, because you can find Liam on Facebook. Here's the thing that I want to get to, is supporting our shows. The Geek to Geek podcast will sometimes have a geeky offer of the week where you can go and get a free Audible trial or something of that nature, and then it helps support the network as a whole. We don't have that. All we ask is for star ratings and reviews on iTunes. We have 13 so far. Our goal is to get 20 by the end of April. So that means you have one more week to get out there and do the review. If we get to 20, what Liam and I are going to do is throw up polls and surveys so you can tell us what the most awful comic book, TV show, or movie is, and Liam and I will do a commentary track of that.
Naked.
And it is going to be the Comic Box After Dark, so it's no holds barred. We can say what we want. There is no content restriction. Adult language and situations will apply.
They certainly will.
Yeah. We might even have a beer or two. Right? So, because I keep upping the ante. First it was, we'll do a commentary. No, first it was, we'll watch and review the worst comic book related thing you guys can come up with. Then it was, we'll do a commentary track so that you can watch it and listen to us riff on it the entire time. And trust me when I say we have a lot of experience riffing on bad things.
Oh, yeah.
And then the third one is that we'll do it the Comic Box After Dark, where we get to swear and say whatever we want. We don't have to restrict ourselves. And now the fourth thing is, maybe we'll do it drunk. It's not a great thing to get drunk. I'm not a drinker really at all, but I will do it for you guys. So we need just 7 of you. If you are listening to this show and you like this show, please go to iTunes, search for The Comic Box, tap the episode, tap reviews, and you can right there leave a star rating or a review. All we need is 20, so we need 7 more in the next week, and then we will give you guys a special bonus episode, and you get to pick what it is we are forced to watch. And I'm not going to put restrictions on that. You can make us watch Ghost Rider.
Again.
That's right.
I have seen those movies, and they're not the worst out there.
No, there's much worse. There's the Roger Corman Fantastic Four. There's the most recent Fantastic Four stick.
There's Catwoman. There's Elektra.
There's Catwoman. There's Elektra. There's the Nick Fury made-for-TV movie. There's The Phantom. Yeah, with Billy Zane.
There's Steel.
Oh, I forgot about Steel with Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, there's so much awfulness out there, but we are not going to do it without those 20 reviews. So please help support the show, help spread the word, and we will thank you for it by giving you comedy that will make you laugh and smile.
And cry.
And brighten up your day. And yes, I'm probably cry.
Definitely cry.
Bop doo doo da da doo da 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 boom ba da bop doo da doo doo. Topic of the week. Finally, we arrive at our topic of the week, and I feel like now I have to go really fast. I just looked at how long we've been recording. we're pretty much to the end of the show. So
there we are.
What's that?
I looked myself, and yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But leave this part in.
Yes. So what was supposed to be the majority of our podcast, we talk too much. I've been playing around with separating our topic of the week episodes with news episodes and trailer reviews. I think I need to start doing that every other week.
Or you could flip a coin and be like, we're going to do DC this week.
Yeah. Well, the tough part about that is telling people what to read for the next week and then not having that as the topic of the week that week because some big news happened. I don't want people to feel betrayed. It's always good that they're reading comics. Image comic books. This is the reason we're running so long. I'm going to throw a brief history of Image at you guys. The main thing we want to talk about is creator-owned series, but Image Comic Books was founded in 1992 by a handful of big-name illustrators that were working for DC and Marvel at the time. And the whole idea is it was created as a place where creators could own the copyrights to their characters. Normally, in the big two world of DC and Marvel, it's what's called work for hire, where if you are an artist or you are a writer, they pay you to do the work and then they own what you make. You make a new character, they own the character. They own the designs, they own the name, they own everything. And so in 1991, some of these top illustrators, them drawers guys, them artists, they went to the president of Marvel and they said that they wanted ownership. Yes, some of the best illustrators and Rob Liefeld went to the president of Marvel and they said not only did they want ownership of their characters, they wanted creative control over their work versus, again, it's the editor that tells you what to do. Like Liam hates the whole Emerald Twilight 2 storyline where Hal Jordan went insane and got replaced by Kyle Rayner as a Green Lantern.
Do.
That was an editorial mandate. That was the company saying, we need a fresh face in Green Lantern because sales aren't as good as we want them to be, but we want a Green Lantern. You do this thing. That's what work for hire is.
And then they got that scab, Ron Mars, to come in and ruin everything.
We'll do a Green Lantern episode later. So in 1991, they tried to get...
You're a scab!
1991, they... You good?
Yeah, I feel better.
Fantastic. 1991, they try to get creative control, and Marvel says no, so they left. And in 1992, they found Image. It started out very much like the other big two. It was a lot of superhero stuff. And then eventually they were able to branch out. I mean, notable series at the start is you had Spawn, you had Savage Dragon, Witchblade, The Darkness. If those sound familiar, these are those early to mid-90s series.
And you probably read Wizard comic books. As I did. Or
Wizard
Magazine, rather, yes.
Yes, because Wizard Magazine was big on these guys, because their founders were Todd McFarlane, who is known for drawing Spider-Man. He's the guy who created Spawn. You had Jim Lee, who was doing X-Men at the time, went on to create all the Wildstorm, Wildcats and stuff. You had Rob Liefeld, who was doing X-Force and things like that. Mark Silvestri, Eric Larson, Jim Valentino, Whilce Portacio. That is a name I am unfamiliar with. And then writer Chris Claremont, who's also famous for doing X stuff.
Oh, yeah.
This whole movement was actually nicknamed Exodus because several of them were known just for working on X-Men books. So here are the two rules that they created. 1, Image does not own the work. The creators own the work. 2, no partner, and each of these guys are considered a partner. A partner is anybody creating works for Image, would interfere with another partner's work creatively or financially. That means we're all together, we're all creating this imprint, but you're all kind of on your own, and you get to own everything. So basically, it's sort of like self-publishing, except they all got together to create a common imprint. Because even within Image, they split it up, and everybody kind of had their own studio, as they called it. You had Todd McFarlane Productions, Wildstorm Productions, Highbrow Entertainment, Shadowline, Top Cow, which is what you were talking about, with Wanted, which is Mark Silvestri's studio. And I just, you can guess which one is Extreme Studios.
Ugh. Pouchy McPoucherson.
Yes. So initially they worked with a small publisher called Malibu to put out their comics, but then within a year, they had exploded because they started with Youngblood, Savage Dragon, Spawn, and Wildcats. And they were the next big thing in comic books because these were the top talents and everyone cared about the art in the 90s because the 90s did not have great storytelling. It was all about incredible new artwork.
Yeah.
You know, this modern age style of hyper stylized art.
And also in this universe, characters got killed and, you know, you didn't know what was going to happen. It wasn't a well-established character that's just, oh, well, of course they're going to survive.
That's true. Like Spawn was a very violent book. It was dealing with things much darker than you would normally see.
Wildcats characters died all the time.
Yeah. So eventually you got other books like The Max or Gen 13, Astro City, and the company is just growing and growing and growing. Then you hit the mid-90s, and oddly enough, everybody gets angry at Rob Liefeld. Top Cow splits off to become its own company, and then Liefeld resigns as CEO in 96. Top Cow comes back, and then Jim Lee in 99 sells Wildstorm to DC because he doesn't want to do the publishing thing anymore. He just wants to focus on being creative and doing artwork and stuff like that. And that's why you now have Wildstorm characters in the DC universe. And they sort of go back and forth with how involved they are. Like there was a Grifter book in the New 52 for a while, and then it sort of went away. And then now they have the book called The Wildstorm. But that's why you had what were initially Image characters now in DC. So that's just to help any of the confusion of you guys out there who, you know, are trying to piece all of that together when the New 52 came around and they incorporated Wildstorm. And then we hit the 2000s, and Image in the 2000s is when things start to get really good. They start branching out. They're not doing just superhero stuff anymore. By 2009, you have Chew, you have books like Saga are starting to come along. You have Robert Kirkman, who shows up with The Walking Dead and Invincible. And those were so popular that by 2010, he was able to start his own imprint or whatever his, what did I call him, studio within Image called Skybound. So now they're telling these original creator-owned stories where they can do whatever they want. It doesn't have to be an ongoing. A lot of Image books come and go. A lot of times books like Black Magic, for example, which was a book I randomly picked up, they did like volume 1 and then stopped. And they're like, we'll get back to it whenever. It's our passion project, our creative-owned project. Meanwhile, they're doing things for the bigger publishers because they pay better, I guess?
Probably.
I don't know.
Regular work, you know.
Yeah, but into the 2010s, they start winning a ton of awards, and Image is now the place to go to find original storytelling that's quality and isn't bogged down by corporate oversight. You know, and some of their series are still going. Spawn is over 250 issues now. Savage Dragon is over 200. And for a creator-owned series, that's insane. Like Walking Dead is on 160-something, I think, now. And nobody ever expected a comic about zombies to last this many years.
Oh, no.
That's Image in a nutshell, I guess. They wanted creative control. They said no, so they said, okay, screw you. They walked. And now you got books like Black Magic, Black Monday Murders, Lazarus, Rat Queens, Cowboy Ninja Viking, Scud, Saga, Walking Dead, Cowl. That's a short list of ones that I wrote down that I know I've mentioned on this show. All Image titles. And that is not to say that companies like Vertigo or Dark Horse aren't also putting out good stuff, but it's the core of Image being the opposite of what we talked about last week, which is when you have to do something and you have to have synergy so your comics look like the TV show, look like the movie, is you create something, you get creative control.
That's a big one. Nobody else does it.
No,
I mean,
nobody else does it.
I like Stray Bullets, which is a comic that I've read some of. That's not a comic that could be done at one of the major two. It's like an anthology story, so it's not every issue is, you know, continuing where the last one picked up, you know. And it tells some pretty adult stories sometimes, and not always something funny, not always something that is massively accessible. So it's diverse, you know. It's something that really showcases the limits that they're allowed to go to when it's creator controlled without having the oversight they would at DC and Marvel.
Right. And that is not to say that DC and Marvel don't make attempts to try and do that. Like there's the Young Animal imprint right now at DC that I hear is very similar in that they're trying to give creators a little more control to do something different or something weird. I feel like because of the popularity of Image, we're hopefully starting to see some of that bleed over into Marvel and DC, where they're picking up on this idea of letting the creators get creative. Instead of saying, you're on Batman, tell me Batman stories and draw it and make it look like Batman, you know?
Yeah, I do know. I know all about that.
Because now you have a short list of Image books, because I know you said you pulled some right off your shelf that you wanted to highlight as books you really like, because there's Stray Bullets, but you had a couple others.
Yeah, I Wanted, which was one of the Top Cow imprint that you mentioned. That is massively different than the movie that they made, which I was subjecting myself to some of, just to sort of remember how much I hated it.
Okay. They have a loom. I don't even know where they got some of that stuff for because I believe Mark Millar, who's the guy who wrote the comic, I feel like he worked on the movie as well. So I don't know how it went from this story that was very Old Man Logan in that it's all the supervillains got together and took over the world and here's what happens next kind of thing.
Yep.
To the movie is there's a loom and it sews names of people who should die and then we curve.
It's got a code. And then Morgan Freeman has to decipher the code, and then he tells them who he needs to have killed. And sometimes, if they don't do it, bad things will happen. And you have to kill the one to save 1,000.
That's
and
right.
I'm like, no, that is not what the comic book is about at all. The comic book would be kill 1,000 to be able to kill the one. They wouldn't give a crap. You know, that's the whole thing, is that they rule the freaking world. The entire universe, actually, because there's parallel dimensions that they go in and out of, and in other dimensions, there are still superheroes.
Yeah.
So they go on, like, raiding parties to go to other universes, because they don't have anything else to do in our universe.
Yeah, Wanted, not a book for kids, certainly.
Not at all.
And it's the whole point of the book is it's a kid who works
looks like Eminem.
Looks like Eminem. That's true. Looks like Eminem because then
meets
there's
a woman who looks like Halle Berry.
Halle Berry, and they cast that character as Angelina Jolie in the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole point was he learns how to be a supervillain. Like the whole point is learning to be evil because it's fun. Like there's not a great message at the core of Wanted.
Not at all.
Especially the end.
Yeah. Yeah, he literally just puts his finger up and says F you to, like, you, the person reading it.
Yeah.
So
it's an angry book.
Yeah, but it's a lot of fun because it really breaks the mold of the superhero genre, but, you know, pokes a lot of fun at it at the same time. So
very true. Is there anything else that you would suggest to people as far as Image books?
You know, if you say that Scud is one of the very first comic books that I ever really loved reading.
Yeah,
so,
written by Rob Schrab.
Yeah, that one is a big personal favorite of mine that goes way back to the beginning.
And if anybody out there is a fan of like Rick and Morty or pretty much anything Dan Harmon has done, Rob Schrab is usually one of his top collaborators.
Yep. Also, there was a while that they did Spawn the Dark Ages. I read the first 30 issues of that back in the day. And I used to collect the Savage Dragon. That was one that I had on my weekly pull list back when I was caddying and spending all my money on comic books. So yeah, those were ones I enjoyed back in the day, but I haven't gone back to read in a while. But Scud, the Rat Queens that you lent me, read that and enjoyed that quite a bit. And again, something that wouldn't really fall within the big two, what their sort of format would allow.
No, not at all. Which, by the way, Rat Queens is back. There's 2 issues out, so I'm really excited about that. So just to remind you, that's just a short list of books that are out there. And keep in mind, there's a lot of other books that count as Image books that are Top Cow or not Wildstorm anymore, but some of these other sort of imprints, Skybound, that sort of thing. You'll still see Image on the spine if you go and look for the trade. And like I said, you can get Image trades the first volume, which would be the first several issues of a series, for only $10 at your local comic book store. And if you go digitally, sometimes Image will sell the first issue. Like when I went for the Black Monday Murders and like they had 3 issues out, the first issue digitally was like $1 instead of $4. Like they just slash the price of some of their first issues just because they want you to go and sample it. So you can head to, I don't know if it's that cost through ComiXology or if it was just at Image's website, but if you do digital comics at all, go and take a look at some Image stuff. They have a lot of great things that you can sample for very little, and take a chance every once in a while. I think it's a good thing. That's how I found Black Magic. I just decided, oh, I like this writer and this art looks really good, and I dropped $10 and now I really like it. Same with Lazarus. Lazarus was just out of the blue. I was like, oh, again, Greg Rucka, I like this guy as a writer. I'm going to give this book a shot. And that's how I became such a big fan of his, was I had read like, I don't know if it was just his Punisher run, or maybe it was his stuff with The Question that I read first. And that was all I knew about him. And I just started seeking out other things this one guy did, and that led me to some of his creator-owned Image works. So we here at the Comic Box support that. I have no idea how hard it would be to get a creator-owned comic in there, but a lot of the comics, not a lot of, but a number of the comics when they were growing were actually comics that were already being self-published, and then Image picked them up and helped them grow and get a larger audience. And that's it. Did you have any other last thoughts on Image Comics before we throw into the end of the show there, Liam?
Huzzah!
Huzzah for Image. Okay. Well, then bring us into the end of the show.
Bum, 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 bum,
Nice. That's it for. I gotta stop saying nice like that. That's it for this week, you guys. So we're gonna close the Comic Box. But before we do, once more, please star ratings and reviews. We just need 7 more. Just 7, you guys. And I so want to do this because it sounds like such a blast. So head over to iTunes, search for the Comic Box. Tap on the show, tap on reviews, and go ahead, leave us a star rating or a review. As we said, we are part of the Geek to Geek Podcast Network. You can go to geektogeekcast.net and sign up for updates on all of our shows. And I can say this now because BJ said it on the Geek to Geek podcast. There is a great potential for some original content that we are going to just be putting out via email, just to people who sign up for our emails. You'll be getting some original stuff in there you won't find anywhere else. Same thing on Facebook, because I'm lazy and I probably only post things in 1 or 2 places. I tend not to, if I have a thought on something, I don't need to say it over 8 different channels. So be sure to follow the Geek to Geek Podcast Network on Facebook. Be sure to join our subreddit at reddit.com/r/geek-to-geek-cast. Liam, where can people find you?
On the Facebook, or
it's like a pause. You're like, oh God, were you about to like give me your address?
Yeah, I was about to tell you exactly my geometric coordinates so that you could track me at all times.
At all times.
But also Crotch Niblet on Steam. Hit me up.
And on Reddit, you are
Irish Mutt.
So if you see Irish Mutt comment on anything on our subreddit, that is Liam's. So feel free, ask him about that Pop Chase figure. I'm sure he'll sell it to you for a good chunk of change. He'll give you.
I'll make you a good deal.
Yeah,
a deal you can't refuse.
If you want to follow us, we are on Twitter at ComicBoxCast. You can email us at thecomicboxpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Noby at KNOWBY. And that is it. Read yourself some Guardians of the Galaxy, and we will see you guys next week. Take us out, Liam.
Bum 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 bum.
Image.
Goodbye.
Were you doing an AOL goodbye?
Yes.
Goodbye.
No, I just said goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Don't know why you stopped to say bye-bye.
Goodbye.